Stop focusing only on what she is saying and start paying attention to what she is doing. Most men misread attraction, not because they lack conversational skills, but because they rely entirely on words while attraction itself operates on biology. What looks like a normal interaction, polite smiles and casual conversation, often hides a second silent dialogue beneath the surface. While you are analyzing the logic of her sentences, her body may already be responding through ancient involuntary systems shaped by evolution. These responses are not intentional signals, and in many cases she is not consciously aware of them, yet they are far more honest than anything she could express verbally. This is about learning to recognize the biological truth that appears before clarity, before permission, and before words ever catch up. Human beings instinctively protect themselves with physical barriers when they feel uncertain, disengaged, or uncomfortable. You see this in crossed arms, a bag held tightly against the body, or objects like drinks and phones placed directly between two people. These are subconscious defensive shields. When attraction begins to form, those defenses soften. Watch for the shift into open posture. Arms uncross, shoulders relax, and the torso turns directly toward you. This is not accidental. It is an evolutionary signal of receptiveness. Vulnerable areas such as the neck and chest become more exposed, indicating a higher level of trust within your proximity. Pay attention to the environment as well. When she moves her purse off her lap or clears objects from the space between you, she is non-verbally reducing distance and opening the path for deeper connection. Unlike facial expressions, eye responses are extremely difficult to consciously control. When the brain identifies something rewarding, it releases neurochemicals such as dopamine, which causes the pupils to dilate involuntarily. Under stable lighting conditions, consistently widened pupils act as a biological signal of heightened engagement. Beyond dilation, observe how her gaze moves. In neutral interaction, eye contact remains steady and functional. Under attraction, a different pattern appears. Her eyes move from your eyes to your lips and back again. This signals attention moving beyond information toward physical awareness. As emotional rapport deepens, mirror neurons in the brain activate, automatically causing two nervous systems to begin aligning. This creates subtle mirroring. She may match your posture, your gestures, or the pace of your movements without realizing it. This is not conscious imitation, it is neurological alignment. If you lean forward and she follows shortly after, or if you take a sip of your drink and she reaches for hers, moments later you are witnessing a shared rhythm. You can test this by casually changing your posture mid-conversation. If she mirrors the change, soon after the interaction has entered a state of non-verbal cohesion where her body is responding to your lead. Attraction increases nervous energy, which often appears as self-grooming or self-touching behaviors. She may tilt her head to expose her neck, play with her hair, or lightly touch her collarbone. These gestures signal comfort while subtly directing attention toward sensitive areas. This heightened sensitivity often leads to displacement touch, where tactile energy is redirected toward nearby objects such as tracing the edge of a glass or touching her own wrist. As attraction strengthens, personal space begins to collapse. She leans in closer than necessary, and her hips and feet orient toward you even in crowded environments. This progression often ends with micro-touches, a brief brush of the arm, a hand resting on yours during laughter, or a knee lightly touching yours. These signals test comfort and response. When these patterns appear, together you are no longer interpreting signs. You are observing biological consistency. Stop focusing only on the literal meaning of her words and start tuning into the frequency of her voice. While a woman can consciously choose her vocabulary, she has very little control over how her voice behaves under emotional engagement. Most men misread interest not because they say the wrong things, but because they listen only to what is being said while ignoring how it is delivered. Attraction alters vocal patterns long before it alters language. Tone, pitch, pace, and timing are regulated by the autonomic nervous system, and as emotional involvement increases, these elements shift automatically. Once you learn to hear these changes, polite conversation no longer sounds neutral. It reveals biological intent. When a woman feels comfortable and drawn towards someone, her nervous system begins to move away from social tension and toward internal safety. This activates the parasympathetic response, relaxing the muscles around the vocal cords. The result is subtle but noticeable. Her voice becomes smoother, warmer, and slightly lower in pitch. This is not a performance and not something done consciously. It is a reduction in vocal defense. If her tone softens specifically when she speaks to you, creating contrast with how she speaks to others, you are hearing a physiological lowering of her guard. In neutral interactions, speech is efficient. Words are delivered quickly to exchange information and move on. Attraction changes that rhythm. Sentences slow down, pauses begin to appear. This is not hesitation and it is not uncertainty, it is presence. Slower speech allows the brain to process emotional tension rather than rush through it. When she begins matching your speaking pace or deliberately slows her own, the conversation has shifted from functional exchange to personal engagement. When interest is low, responses tend to be short, flat, and contained. When interest rises, the voice becomes more expressive. You may notice increased variation in tone, stronger emphasis on certain words, and audible engagement through soft affirmations or encouraging sounds. This is her nervous system investing energy into the interaction. She is no longer just responding, she is participating. Polite laughter is brief, controlled, and ends quickly. Attraction-driven laughter is fuller, less restrained, and lingers. It often continues into a lingering smile that remains after the moment has passed. This is not about the joke itself. It is about emotional resonance. Attraction affects timing in conversation. Instead of immediate, predictable replies, you may notice a brief pause before she speaks. These pauses create tension, not silence. They indicate internal processing. She is reacting, not simply replying. As comfort increases, this often leads to selective disclosure. Her voice may lower slightly as she shares a personal opinion, memory, or detail. By lowering her volume, she creates a sense of privacy within the interaction, drawing you into a more intimate vocal space. As with body language, individual signals mean little on their own. What reveals truth is consistency. When softened pitch, slower pace vocal investment, resonant laughter, and intentional pauses appear together, the pattern becomes clear. Words can be chosen carefully. Tone cannot. Understanding attraction does not end with reading signals in the body or shifts in the voice. Those cues reveal interest in a moment, but attraction that truly matters reveals itself over time. What separates brief chemistry from genuine intent is not intensity but direction. This is where most confusion begins, because attraction can feel strong during interaction and still weaken afterward. The difference is not mixed signals or manipulation, it is alignment. Real attraction does not surge and collapse randomly. It stabilizes, organizes itself, and expresses through consistent behavior. Behavioral consistency is not about isolated moments or emotional peaks. It is about patterns. Anyone can appear warm briefly, anyone can be engaging in conversation, but genuine attraction leaves continuity. It shows up in follow-through, in prioritization, and in effort that remains present even when no immediate reward exists. This is where attraction moves beyond reflex and becomes choice. One of the clearest indicators of genuine attraction is voluntary initiation. When interest is, real connection does not need to be prompted or managed. Communication continues naturally. Interaction flows forward without friction. Messages are not just replies, they extend the connection. This does not appear as neediness, it appears as momentum. Attraction expresses itself by staying present, consistent. Psi also appears through reliability. Not constant attention, but dependable engagement. Plans feel stable rather than fragile. Conversations do not feel borrowed or conditional. When attraction is, genuine time is, respected and effort aligns with intention. This does not mean availability without limits. It means emotional direction without confusion. As attraction deepens, investment evolves quietly. Conversations gain memory. Time together becomes intentional rather than accidental. Shared context forms. Nothing dramatic announces this shift yet. Everything progresses. Attraction does not need to declare itself. It behaves differently. But just as attraction organizes itself through consistency, it dissolves through withdrawal. Loss of attraction rarely arrives as rejection. It arrives as neutrality. Energy fades before words change. The body creates distance before explanations appear. Personal space returns where closeness once existed. This is not cruelty. It is regulation. The nervous system withdrawing investment. Behavior shifts first. Initiative slows. Responses lose rhythm. Plans become tentative. Then the voice follows. Warmth disappears. Speech becomes efficient. Laughter shortens. Conversation loses texture. This is not anger or conflict. It is absence. The system is no longer engaged. Many men misread this phase because they confuse effort with alignment. They compensate by initiating more, explaining more, and trying harder. But attraction does not respond to pressure. It responds to resonance. When one side increases effort while the other reduces engagement, the direction is already clear. Attention always reallocates toward value. When attraction fades, focus moves elsewhere, not as betrayal but as prioritization. Energy flows where interest lives. This is not something to challenge or negotiate, it is something to recognize. Understanding this changes how you move. You stop chasing moments and start observing trajectories. You stop reacting emotionally and begin responding intelligently. Attraction becomes something you recognize, not something you pursue blindly. Attraction does not need to be rushed. It does not need to be negotiated. It needs to be read accurately. When consistency is present, it deepens without force. When withdrawal appears, composure matters more than persistence. This awareness protects clarity, self-respect, and emotional balance. It allows you to step forward when alignment exists and step back when it does not, without resentment, confusion, or loss of self. Attraction does not ask you to chase. It asks you to pay attention.